here is the web app. It's online now, and I'm not entirely sure like how much traffic it could handle. So probably not ready for widespread use quite yet. But basically, I will zoom into the area where I'd like to select the field. So just because I happen to know data for Cook, I'll zoom down to the Cook agronomy farm. That's Palouse. Let's see here.
Can I ask another quick question, Joaquin?
Yep.
Could you mentioned that it's not entirely ready for um, maybe full launch, just like soft launch mode. Um, I'm noticing that, we can see the web address up there, but is there another way that people can access this, or where can people expect to be able to find this available?
Yeah, I can share the address. I think it's accessible. I just didn't want to maybe give it out to a huge audience where it might be flooded because it's not set up to handle a huge amount of traffic right now. But yeah, I'm happy to share the address with a smaller audience. So I can zoomed into the area approximately where Cook is, and I trace out around roughly where the field is. I could also upload a shape file if you happen to have that kind of information for the field. And then I can export that shape. And then I happen to know that I'm going to do the 2022 harvest season. I know that we applied about 170 pounds of nitrogen per acre in the fall, 0 in the spring. It's planted on October 1st, approximately 2021. And then harvested in August the following year. All right, so you can select cultivar class. In my case, it's soft white winter wheat, but I've also developed this with hard red wheats, both the winter and spring. And then I attach that shape file for the boundary and then submit it. And hopefully this does not take too long. It's got so it takes a little bit of a minute because it's got to download a whole bunch of remote sensing data, weather data, and process it all. So, and in the meantime, I'll copy this. I'll just put the web address in the chat. I guess that might be a good way to share it.
Great. And I guess for in the future, as this becomes maybe a little bit more developed, is this going to go on the Cook Agronomy Farm website?
Yeah, I think that's where it would end up going.
So cafltar.org.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm just trying to see my chat is up there. And so it's finished here, and I can zoom in and see the results. And so it's like the plot I showed in that other slide here. And then it also gives the key that kind of tells you what the different classes mean. So yeah, there's basically two ways, you can get to this kind of result. You could use, if you don't have the yield and protein monitor data, um, then you could use this kind of remote sensing based tool. Or if you have a history of yield and protein monitor data, you could actually give that to me and I'll analyze it and put it in terms of these categories.
Joaquin, would you mind just for my maybe for my sake, I don't know if other folks in the audience would enjoy this, but would you just give a brief interpretation of what you're seeing in that output?
Yeah, so essentially for Cook in 2022, like I said with the other plot, it's mostly purple here, which indicates category 6. And category 6 indicates that it's inefficient and the protein is too high. So that's indicative of just applying too much nitrogen for soft wheat. So you're exceeding the protein targets and you're applying so much nitrogen that it's not being efficiently used. So you could reduce your nitrogen application in subsequent seasons. That would increase your efficiency and decrease the protein content down to market levels.
Great. So in this, with the gradation, I don't see any red on here, so there's a lot of room for growth in terms of
Yeah.
improvement.
Actually, that 2022 season that I selected, it actually was pretty poor performing year. It was overall pretty inefficient. So, we had better efficiency numbers or in the earlier days of Cook, I would say, seemed to be better. And then, some of the grower data I got indicated that growers are doing a lot better with their nitrogen use compared to how us researchers were doing at Cook. So
Joaquin, I just want to clarify. So in this case, you put in the nitrogen applied and then you inferred the grain protein content from remote sensing data.
yeah, it kind of skips inferring the grain protein directly. Although I did make a separate model that tried that out, and I'd be interested in testing that out further if you just wanted a tool to look at grain protein. But this just directly estimates the performance category.
Hey, great. It does seem like maybe some of the like different extenuating weather factors carry over from previous years that might have been lower yielding and not always accounting for that might have some impact on this, but looking
Well,
forward.
it does take into account meteorological information. Um, so it pulls weather data from GridNet. So like it looks at total precipitation during different portions of the year that would be relevant to the crop, as well as like total growing degree days during different growing stages of the wheat. So a lot of that information is getting used behind the scenes. The one thing that you mentioned that it doesn't really make use of is previous cropping history. All it really takes into account is, was the previous crop grown on that field a legume or not? So it uses some cropland data later information to figure out, okay, let's say there was lentils grown here, or there was garbanzos grown here in the previous season. That's used in predicting what performance class you'll hit.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this tool with us today. You put a lot of great work into it. Did you have any final comments for from the presentation standpoint? I know you're actively looking for feedback, so people should reach out if they're watching a recording of this. But yeah, if you have any final comments, now's the time.
Yeah, I would say just if I get any feedback on how this tool could be improved, or if anyone has any data, you can reach out to me at my USDA email address that was on the previous slide. And yeah, it's still pretty early days, so
And you want to keep the chat open?
looking for an opportunity to improve this.